All right, we're live. Let's do this. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the live show of the Outerknown Tahiti Pro. I am absolutely fizzing, as Vaughn Blakey would say. I can't wait to talk about finals day. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the picks. I'm going to go through quarterfinals picks. I'm also going to talk about the men's and women's and who I think will win. I'll look at my fantasy team, and I want to hear about your fantasy team. This is a two-way show. Get into the chat. And maybe it's not good morning for you. It's good morning for us. I'm in Los Angeles. I am not on the beaches of, I should probably pull this down so you guys can see me. Hold up. There seems to wait a minute. Yeah, I think that thing's working. Yeah, okay. For a second there, I thought I had everything blocked. So anyway, really psyched about this particular event. As much as I thought the wind would affect it, there's actually been some pretty amazing waves. And what I want to start with, though, is tell me where you're from. Tell me if it's night. Tell me, we usually get an audience from all over the world. And I know Australia, you're probably sleeping. It's 2 in the morning. But there's one Australian out there who I know is in the chat, and that's T-Bone. And T-Bone is expecting me right now to apologize to Kelly Slater. Should we talk about Kelly Slater? I think we will. In fact, I have the wrong picture up. We're going to talk about Cal Rabo in a moment. Let's talk about Kelly. Hey, look, I had said prior to this event that I thought that the talent that's on the current CT had passed by Kelly, that Kelly would not have an impact in this event. And everyone reminded me, especially T-Bone, that this is Kelly's signature event. This is what Kelly does. Pipe in Tahiti, Kelly knows how to ride the tube. And Kelly doesn't need to have the other skills that these guys have, such as air games, such as quick twitch turns, all of that. But Kelly's positioning, they reminded me, was still relevant in 2026. And I sort of blew it off. And I have to come correct and say to you, yes, in 2026, a 54-year-old man, his positioning at Tahiti, at Tiopo, is incredible. And I give him a lot of credit. For a guy of his age to go over the falls twice, break his board, and then come back in a heat against, I would say, the apex predator, to me, the best surfer currently on the CT, although his event results don't show it as much as what I saw in the free surfs this year. I think Gabriel Medina, I still think he'll win the title this year, or at least be in the top 3. No, I think he's going to win based on what I've seen. And he just had a bad heat, but Kelly absolutely made it happen. He made people make mistakes, and he did it both to Eli Hanneman, who he pretty much smoked, and he did it to Gabriel Medina. And I should probably pull these comments up to where I can see them. And we're going to read the comments in just a second, but I just wanted to finish that thing where, and then Kelly yesterday obviously lost to Jack Robinson. And one of the things that you all have noticed out there and that I've noticed is the fact that there is something about rhythm. Rhythm is so important, especially in Tahiti, where when you get into the rhythm with the right waves in a set, you're going to get the higher scores. And I'm going to give you a couple examples. Kelly was absolutely in rhythm against Gabriel Medina. He got the best waves. He got the best scores. Game over. And I think the same thing happened with Griffin yesterday against Miguel Pupo. Griffin against in all his heats. He got into the rhythm with the right waves and won the heat. And I think you're going to see that today. I think it might be a little less consistent. And in Tahiti, it's scary as a competitor because you could actually be stuck with the highest score and not have a good backup. And we saw this happen with Vahine. We saw this happen, I would maybe say with Cowley, but Cowley just had 2 good waves to Owl's 1 really good wave. So let me read your comments, you guys. That was my filibuster at the front end of this. Yeah, and Zaid, good to see you, man. And I told you that I did pick. Let me pull my fantasy picks up here. I told you that I picked Ramsey and Ramsey. Let's get Kelly out of here. Come on, Kelly. Time for you to go. We'll talk more about Kelly, obviously, as we get through this. Okay, so here's my picks. And I'm not disappointed. A lot of people gave me shit for not picking Kelly in Tier C. Like, that's a must pick. And I went a different direction. And I picked Seth Moniz and Ramsey Bukaim. And I'm really glad I did because they're still in. And and those were sort of, I talked about in my other video, my outliers. Those were my outliers. So anyway, let's have a look at the chat. Goatness. I see T-Bone in. T-Bone, I wish I could have got you on screen. Everyone, T-Bone's working, or we would have been able to debate face to face. Malta afternoon. Welcome from Malta. Come on, dude. Biarritz from France. Welcome in. Appreciate having you. And by the way, if you're just new here, welcome. And I want to say that I do this thing. I talk about the events before the Hooter is what the name of the show is, and after the Hooter. So subscribe to the channel right now if you'd like to talk fantasy surfing or if you just like to talk about the events themselves. All right, that was my ad. I wonder if he listened to Eddie Money's Walk on Water before the heat. Dude, Slater was dropping in from the sky on a couple. It was pretty impressive. Let's see what else we got. I got to read this. I got to look down. I got to read the damn thing from, hold on. Let me see if I can fix this. Still getting used to this. Oh, come on, man. Make it easy for me here, guys. I'm talking to a chat bot. Okay, so Cola Pinto. Bruce Harris is, we're going to get to Griffin in a moment. Griffin's had some incredible heat, some incredible waves. Griffin, in fact, stole from Kelly the best heat total of the year. And Kelly, can you imagine Kelly has the best heat total of the year? I mean, T-Bone would not have let me forget about that. Kelly is still the best, right besides John and Nathan Florence. I mean, you've got 3 guys that I want to continue to watch surf, even though they're not on the tour. They're probably the most compelling, that's for sure. What's happening from South Africa? Hey, welcome in. I think I finally jogged with your time schedule. A lot of times we're covering events in Australia and events over here, El Salvador, for example, and we're not in your time zone. So glad you're here, man. And we have some big fan base in South Africa. Welcome. Ramsey and Pitar coming on strong. Dude, George Pitar, he has surprised me for his first run. Emia won that first heat. Judges underscored his first wave and gave it to Seth at the end. No muy bueno. I don't know if I agree. I have to go back and look at it. My impression was, and again, I'm biased because I picked Seth Moniz, but my impression was that Seth did enough to get it done, but maybe I'll go back and have a look at that. Kelly fell a couple times, which was uncharacteristic. Yeah. Hey, T-Bone, real question. Yesterday, Kelly got a wave in the final, less than 5 minutes left. That was this foam bally ride. Was that a 7.5, I think is what they gave that? I thought it was overscored. I thought Kelly got thrown some extra points. And my question to you all out there is, does Kelly have judging bias, and which direction is it? Do they judge Kelly against his previous performances, or do they judge Kelly as the legend that he is and go, well, GOAT deserves an 8? You know, like, I think he battles that. It's two-edged sword is what I'm going to say. And I want to feel you guys out, see what you think about that. All right. MEO's excellent out there. Yeah, MEO, like, I picked Seth because I knew everyone was going to pick MEO. And it would be a win on my fantasy team if I could get that win. I didn't know that Seth would go this deep, and I'm very happy he is. And hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we jump into the actual matchups and start talking about those? Let me see what else we got here. Rambo would be too strong for GP. Let's see, man. Tell you what, I got to put these comments off to the side, and let's jump into this. First slide I'm going to show you all is what we're talking about and why this thing's on yellow alert. The WSL put on yellow alert because, as you can see, it's the best day until the end of the waiting period. And the end of the waiting period, I don't know if you all can see my mouse. Tell you what, I have this technology I think I can use. See, I circled. There's the last day of the waiting period. I don't know if y'all can see that, but yeah, so anyway, and now I don't think I can erase that. That's so dumb. Anyway, that indeed is the last day of the waiting period. And so today, 8 to 10, I think that's more of a face, 8 to 10 foot face. I think it's going to get smaller later in the week, and I think this is the most optimal conditions, if you will. But let's go ahead and let's start with, let's start with the men's. So yeah, I already had it up. I had Al Cleland and Seth Moniz. What do you all think? I am going to pull this up, and these are their stats for Tahiti. You can see that Seth has had 6 events, Al's had 2, but Al just Al feels right at home in these kind of conditions. He's jumped right in, just like he did at Pipe. Like, he made a splash at Pipe and has done really well there. Let's look at their head-to-head. This will be the first matchup between the two of them, which is interesting. And I'm going to give, God, that one's tough. I just got to go with Seth because I picked him on my fantasy team. What do you guys think? Let's see what else we got. Judges wanted a Cinderella story. Kelly Slater, wave was scored on that last wave. Yeah, I think so too. And what I was thinking was, if Kelly had gotten another wave, like, would they have given, they love a turn the heat in the last minute type of situation for the drama, which makes you think it's rigged, but I feel like it would be too complicated for the CT to be rigged all the time. I know I hear it from coaches, I hear it from all of you fans. I just don't think it's a rigged show, but I definitely think there's bias that plays into what the judges do. There can't not be. And to want a story, yeah, maybe. I don't think the WSL is actively going, hey, we want some drama, you know? Here's some money. Anyway, let's see what else. Kelly got, this is a good one. T-Bone texted me about this last night. Kelly got a 9 for a 2-second tube. I don't even know if it was 2 seconds, man. She kind of dipped in. And then it says, and then Thunderill kind of stole my thunder, which he's absolutely right. Yeah, but Kelly, here, let me pull this up so I'm not looking down. Let me pull this back onto my screen. And then Thunderill, not reading your name right, but hey, thanks for joining. Yeah, but Katie's wave was technical and a bomb. So I absolutely agree with that. And here's what I think happened and what we're talking about is Katie's wave yesterday in the second round. It was a bomb. It was the biggest wave probably not only of that particular heat, but probably of the day at that point in the women's. And her drop was very similar to Kelly's drop, where you thought they were going to stuff it in the bottom there, caught like standing straight up as Tahiti will do to you. And she somehow caught an edge, caught a fin, caught an edge in the right way, buried enough rail to get around the bottom turn and into a barrel. And Kelly did it, you know. Kelly's was, I'd never seen anything like that from a competitor, especially not a 54-year-old competitor. It was insane. And so I think that played into it. Remember on my video, if you guys watch my Before the Hooter video, I basically broke down the wave in 5 parts. And part 1 was scoring, and 5 parts as far as scoring. And part 1 was the drop. Part 2 was the positioning inside the barrel. Part 3, how long you spent in the barrel. And part 4 and 5 had to do with the exit and the claim. So anyway, I think Katie checked those boxes, and it looked gnarly. Looking in, she was in there enough, and a 9 was high, but when you compare that to Yolanda's wave in the previous heat, Yolanda got like a 6.5, and Yolanda spent probably more time, but it was a much smaller wave, and I think she didn't have as much to negotiate. And by the way, those two are going to face each other. That's going to be a great heat. Katie had grit. I will give you that, man. Let's see. What else we got here? It'll be close, but Seth beats Al. I am agreeing with you. Anyone else? Agree with Seth, but definitely not the best matchup in the quarters. Yeah. Kelly's wave was super difficult. Absolutely. My biggest gripe with judging is overemphasis on specific maneuvers at the expense of the overall wave. Rogue Bossa, dude, I love when you get in this chat because you bring solid takes. And that was a rope. And I'll tell you why. Because I've noticed that they love a one wave, and sometimes waves put this out there, but they love a one-hit maneuver that's epic. And they've been scoring, you know, one maneuver wave 8s more than I think I like to see, but they expect, especially at emphasis, and we could get into a whole debate here about how airs play into that. I think that airs, specifically placed cutbacks, turns, and barrels, are all part of a performance on the entire wave. And that's why I agree with that, and I love that call. HH Bonus, you, good to have you. Is it going to be better than yesterday condition-wise? That's a great question. I think in the morning, it's going to be just what we left off with based on the swell that I saw, based on the charts. But I do see it getting smaller in the day. And remember, like, we've got a lot of heats to run today. I want to keep going with the quarterfinals so I can get through all this. How much time do I have? Ooh, we're running up against it. Yeah, I have enough time. Let's jump into it. But I think it's going to be similar in the morning. It's going to get smaller. And I think it will be inconsistent for sure. This next heat I love. It's an easy pick for me. I don't know what you guys think, but we've got Elo versus Ethan. I thought that Ethan's heat against Joel was going to be tough, and he got through that heat. I did pick him in my bracket, but I picked Elo on my fantasy team just because I think Elo is that well-rounded in all conditions, and I thought it was going to be windy and bumpy, and I knew he'd do okay. And Elo actually got away with one. I don't know if you saw Connor O'Leary's wave. He got tripped up at the very end. I think that would have been a better, if that would have been a better score, Elo probably would have been in trouble because Connor, as we talked about before, had that rhythm and he fell in that wave in the final seconds. And, you know, I talked about Connor in my video about how he is like an outlier because he's never really done well here. And I don't understand why. And he made that mistake. I thought this was his opportunity. But anyway, I pick Elo in this. What do you guys think? Damn, that's a good coffee right there. So let's look at their head-to-head. And it's pretty close. It's 5-4. And this is not just in Tahiti. This is overall, career-wise. And what's funny is Ethan has the edge in all of the 3 stats they list: average heat score, max heat score, and max wave score. But Elo has gotten the win probably based on having multiple waves As you noticed, he got a lot of waves. But Elo looks pretty good. He looks pretty dialed in. I know he's got some back issues, though. And I also want to add to that Ethan is no slouch in... Oh, come on, WSL, man. Why you got to give me this ad? I hate this ad down here. And Ethan is no slouch on his backhand. I mean, his forehand is his bread and butter, but his backhand is solid. Did I lose the chat? I did. Let's pull the chat back up. Wait, I don't want it there. What am I doing here, bruh? Oh, boy. What have I done? Okay. So this next heat is the one I want to talk about because I haven't made my decision yet. It is, of course, Jack Robinson and Griffin Colapinto. And I think that we know that Jack has been sick, but I also noticed in the interview he's been a few words, the man of few words, because he's so zenned out focused. And the last time I saw him do this was in Barra, where he won that event in Mexico. And so I think Jack is in Zen mode, but the flip side of that is Griffin is just playing, surfing better than anyone else and getting better waves. I should say not surfing better than everyone else, but getting better waves. He has a 10. He outscored Miguel. He was behind to Miguel Pupo, and I was bummed about that, to be honest, because Miguel Pupo was on my team. He was my Tier A pick. But props to Griffin. He's surfing well. What do you think? I know that T-Bone is going Jack. I think that, and by the way, this is a rematch of the finals last year where Jack only got 2 waves and beat Griffin. Griffin was runner-up. Jack was a champion in Tahiti last year. I'm going to go Griff. I'm going to go Griff. I know T-Bone's going to go Jack. It's going to be a great heat. I hope there's enough waves for it, but I can't wait to watch that. And what we didn't talk about was the winner of Al Cleland and Seth, and Elo and Ethan will be one semifinal, and the winner of this matchup, oh, by the way, we didn't look at head-to-head. Let's look at head-to-head. And the winner of this matchup will take on George Bitar and, wait, who the hell is it? I can't remember, but we'll look at that in a second. So Griffin leads in terms of career stats, average heat score, max heat score, but not in max wave score. But they're knotted up at 2-2, which checks out. I mean, that's such a great matchup, always is. So whoever wins this heat gets the lead in that particularly. I'm not going to call it a rivalry because it's not one. Let's see what we got. Yeah, last year's finals, that's what T-Bone's saying. Elo versus EE. For me, EE drops anchor, Elo will take it. You know, that happens quite a bit, man. He looks so locked in. I need to channel that into my own life. It's like, totally, man. Like, there's moments when I definitely need to go Zen. The Vortex Shaman is fully locked in. T-Bone, let's put a bet down on it. T-Bone, what's the bet? You tell me. Let's see if it's doable. Yeah, let's come up with something. T-Bone and I were laughing about a lot of things yesterday. Some of it not PG. I'm going Colapinto also. Yeah, Bruce. I don't know. Is it Griff's turn? Is it? And Griff needs this, man. Griff isn't out there surfing in the goddamn U.S. Open. And is it partially a dick move for like Kanoa in the top 8 to be doing that? Yeah, probably. And maybe he got karma losing to freaking Alejo Muniz. No shade, Kanoa. Kanoa's a great surfer, but I don't always love that he goes in the U.S. Open. And Griffin did the same thing, you know. But Griffin might actually need those points. If he'd have flamed out here, he'd be in a little bit of trouble, just like he was last year. But now he's looking good, and I think he needs a result. And so does Jack. Both of them need a result. They're in a uncomfortable position for these two, being where they are. All right, wait, we got to keep going. What am I doing, bro? I'm getting so far behind. Let's cover this last heat really quickly. And that heat is, where the hell did it go? Oh, I passed it. All right, it's at the top. So this one is Ramsey and George Bitar. I'm taking Ramsey all day. I don't even need to stop. Ramsey's on my fantasy team. And if you've seen Ramsey in some of these waves, especially on that huge day, like the fact that this guy comes from Morocco, where he's been going left his whole life, the fact that he can surf not only on his forehand as a goofy foot, but in such massive waves, it's amazing. And I love the way this guy surfs. I love the way this guy charges. And he got a couple waves where, I mean, were they 4 times overhead? I have pictures. I didn't have time to put this together, but I'll probably have this on my After the Hooter video. But pictures of Ramsey absolutely charging, man. So I'm taking Ramsey. George Bitar, though, I mean, what an impressive run. He's made it to the quarters. And he could still win this. And his prize will be going up against either Jack or Griffin. And I'm not sure that he could beat either of those two. Like, George has no major experience here, whereas, you know, Ramsey does. And let's see what their head-to-head matchup is. This will be the first time they've served against each other. So there you go. All right, we're going to move on to the women's. But first, let's check where all the fun is in the chat. Whoever wins gets to pick the losers of next fantasy team. Fuck no, dude. That's what you would like, because you're flaming out this year. Dude, I actually am doing well. I'm going to keep my team intact. Maybe we get to pick one. Maybe we get to pick one person in there. You and I will work it out. We'll work something out. Maybe you get to pick one tier C pick or something like that. All right, given swell dropping, everyone may have to take a page out of Elo's book and go on more ways to build some kind of backup plan. And I think that has a lot. Elo does that for momentum, but I also think to have some kind of score is important. And again, I'm going to go back to Vahine because I'm a little bitter that I picked her, but I also thought she would be in the finals in my bracket. And Vahine had the higher score against Isabella Nichols, but she had a freaking 1 as a backup. And you can't be bumping around with a 1 as a backup where it might get to a point where you're going to need that backup score. And I think if she would have had a 2 or a 2.5, she would have won that heat. So it's really important. I've seen a couple of people lose, and Connor O'Leary's another one that had the higher score but lost the heat. And a surf coach has got to go mental when that happens. Anyway, great take. Appreciate that. And promise I won't pick Alejo. Dude, it would have been better here. Kanoa went out bad. Kanoa was upset, as he should have been. Going right his whole life. Yeah. Well, I kind of went out on a rant there. Loving the passion from Ramsey this event. Dude, Ramsey, I love the guy, man. He hits it backside so sick, and I can't believe he hasn't had better results. He needs this really badly to continue to be on tour. And I like a tour with Ramsey on it. We do have less too in Morocco, rare, but they do exist. Yeah, I would imagine you do. You're famous for your rights, Saeed. And I think I default to, well, it's land of rights. Just like Peru's land of lefts, there's rights in Peru as well. Vahine underscored on her last heat. I just thought, I don't know what I think. I have to relook at it, but I really thought that Isabella just put together 2 decent waves, which was too sad, and good for Isabella. Like, she is a grinder. She is a great surfer, and she, has found a rhythm and a formula for success. So good for her. And let's get to her. Let's get to let's get to these quarterfinals. We're going to the women's. How much time do I have? I got to run through these pretty quick. We first have Erin Brooks versus Molly Picklum. Their head-to-head stats are as follows. Molly owns that matchup 3-1. But Erin has the max heat score and max wave score over her, but the average heat score is nod to Molly. I want to look at this stat. So this is the career event stat. So what this stat is basically how they've done in Tahiti. Erin has 2 appearances in Tahiti, although we know that Erin has surfed a lot more than that. Erin just has big wave game, especially on her forehand. I could see Erin winning this heat, although I've picked Molly on my team. I don't want to see that, but if you were to press me right now, you know what? I have to take Molly. I think Molly, man, that is like as tight as Griffin and Jack. But I'm going to say Molly just because I got to back my team. And she's got more competitive experience there. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments. And I guess I'm going to leave this up so when I'm completely wrong, you guys can call me out on it. And by the way, you might be joining us late or you might not see this. This is actually live right now, but this stays on the YouTube and you can go back and watch it. And the comments will go in the comments and I usually get to those and answer those. So here's where we're talking about Isabella Nicol and the upstart, the rookie upstart who's leading rookie of the year, I believe, is Nadia Aristarbe, who's wicked talented on her backhand, but has also shown us she's not just a one-trick pony. She can ride the tube, she can get waves, and she's a competitor. Let's talk about this matchup. I don't know. They keep saying falsely on the WSL, and love you, Kaipo, you're the man, but I think you're wrong in that you keep saying this is her first time in competition in a jersey, and that's incorrect. It's her first time in a CT, but she surfed in the Olympics here. And she didn't have a great run. She actually had one good heat, but then I think she lost in the following heat. But anyway, she has surfed here before. She has some experience, but not as much as Isabella Nicol. Let's look at their head-to-head. I have a feeling that's close. And, oh, it is close because they've never had a matchup. So who do you choose in that? If I had to, I don't know. I think Nadia's got something magic going on. I'm going to take Nadia for the hell of it. I think on paper, Isabella should win that heat. Let's go to the next one. This one is interesting. I said in my video, Kalia, let's just call her Miss Teopu. It's Kalia. Kalia? Kalia. Miss Teopu. Miss Teopu, welcome to the CT. She's torched Tyler Wright. She beat Caroline Marks in a place where Caroline Marks is heavily favored, who's won 2 out of 3, or no, all 3 of the last events has been in the semifinals or better. She won 2 years ago. And Miss Teopu went out and defeated her. And defeated her on what we talked about just a moment ago, is taking a lot of waves, taking good waves. And did you notice it was kind of cute. She's got this puppy for birthday. She just turned 14 and she's in the booth with Joe. And she's actually breaking down the wave better than they are because she knows a wave. Oh, that had a little west bowl. That had a little piece in it. I like the way I like the way that Cowley surfed that, but he got pinched on the end because of the direction. You know, she was breaking it down, and it was pretty cool. Like, this is a 14-year-old breaking it down. But I think she's got her hands full with Nat Lalior, who definitely charges, and she, as you noticed, has tube game and is on her forehand. I've been picking against Miss Teopu, and it's probably a bad move. I'll take Miss Teopu because I think it'll be really interesting if she makes it, because who she'll go up against is a winner, and I think this is the heat of the women's. actually, along with Molly and Aaron. I think this is a dead set great heat. Yolanda and Katie. And I have not looked at the comments in a while. Let's pull up the chat and let's get on this. Hard to hate Ramsey. Injury prone, though. I think Ramsey has had a couple injuries, and that one was just a freak accident where his leg got stuck. Remember, his leg got stuck at Bell's and the rocks on the inside, and he just he twisted his knee, just torqued it. It was crazy, man. Must be all that Bonzoy she's drinking. Definitely. Let's fit in the Bonzoy brew break. No, let's not. By the way, not sponsored. Not sponsored. You guys, I like this to be community funded, and I have to, this is a quick shameless plug. If you go to my website, or if you go to prosurfmedia.com, there is a PayPal there if you want to make a donation to try to get me to Hawaii. Obviously I'm going to be at Trestles because it's very close to my home, but I would love to go to Hawaii for the finals, and I'm crowdfunding that. If you just chip in $5, that would be awesome. There's a couple $100 already going there. So check that out on my website and support independent coverage, because this isn't about, I don't have WSL takes, and I also don't take sponsors. On the very rare, they really have to be things that I believe in. But I like to I'm not going to flog freaking AG1, guys, because it's a subscription and it's stupid. And I just don't like, I've been approached by a lot of products that are stupid, and I don't want to do that, man. So anyway, there's my plug. All right, let's keep reading here. The chances of 40-minute heats later in the day, I believe they'll definitely, 42 minutes update. Am I getting close? Am I getting close to WSL coming on? I'm going to have to jump off in just a moment. So 40-minute heats. I definitely see the finals being a 40-minute heat if they can. I think we might start getting into the afternoon at that point, but I think they should. I would love for like quarters 35, semis 40, and then finals 45, because it's going to get more and more inconsistent. And I'd hate to see somebody go out with just one wave score. That would just be terrible. Youngest surfer ever to compete in a CT would be Kalia and Kelia. And I'm not saying it right. Somebody help me. And also, she might be the youngest if she won. I don't know if she'd probably be the youngest and beat Tyler, who already has that record. Who was the second youngest? Tyler, yeah. T-Bone, it was Simmers. Wait, was it Simmers? Oh, Tia, thank you. That's good trivia. Look at T-Bone, coming in hot. Good one, bud. I think I just clicked on something I didn't mean to click on. All right, let's talk about this heat. I love this heat. And I said in my video that I liked Yolanda's road to the finals. I thought that she was matched up against two right-hand point break specialists at a left-hand reef break barrel. That is, Yolanda loves that shit. She eats it for breakfast. She trains for this. I think this is going to be a good heat. I would probably give the edge to Katie, but there's some X factor, and Yolanda's going to try to get a lot of waves. And I will tell you, if it comes to her, she's not afraid and she'll go. And the other problem is she's not afraid and she'll go. And I think tactically, she needs to maybe reel it in a little bit and be a little smarter in her heat, because as much as you think Katie is just having fun out there and talking about butterflies on her board, I think that Katie is pretty tactical. And Yolanda's been in a million heats, but I think when she starts looking at barrels, she starts frothing. And she might over froth. And my advice hopefully John is listening. He's not. Would be like, and I know he tells her this. That's her coach. He says, hey, you know, get your scores and then go, you know, hunt your big barrel and try to put it away. Let's see what the comments have to say about that. Next call in 34 minutes. Wow, look at T-Bone, Mr. Trivia. TB, youngest male at 17. Is that youngest to win an event, T-Bone, or is that competition? Because I can think of others who were younger in competition. I mean, wasn't Nicky Wood like 15 when he was on tour with all the guys boozing and doing drugs? I think so. Let's see, Rogue Boss. Katie might seem spacey, but she's freaking genius. Dude, she's like savant-esque. I think she has a good read on the water. I think Yolanda does too, but I think Katie has almost a little bit of that. If some of you who are older, who watched Kelly back in his day, and he did it a little bit here, Kelly had this magic where you would think waves just came to him and he was bending the ocean to his will. But it was also tactically being in a position and knowing which waves not to take and selling those waves to others. And this magic that surrounded him, you know, I was talking about this with Pablo from Duke Surf. Go check out dukesurf.com, especially if you speak Spanish. That is an epic news site. But Pablo and I talked about, you know, Carissa has a bit of that magic this year, and Kelly, and we related it back to what Kelly used to do. I mean, I've seen tubes come to Kelly when there were no tubes that day. And I know you all have seen this, and I'm sure it's been talked about on many a surf show. But it's worth a reminder. I think Katie has a little piece of that. And she also has more competitive instincts than people give her credit. So yeah, let's see what else everyone has to say. Nikki won at 16, so TB qualified at 17. Got you. Jason Buttonshaw. I do remember Jason Buttonshaw. T-Bone, you better like get your ChatGPT around some Jason Buttonshaw and tell us where he came in. But remember, and ChatGPT likes to say this, remember, ChatGPT often is incorrect. And I've tried to use it for research, and I do use it for research. And I will inevitably find a mistake, and I'll get some stats from them to kind of get an idea to form, you know, shows, and then I'll go and double check it. And then I'll do my outline and, you know, make my videos off of that. But it is often incorrect, especially with surf stats, which are notoriously hard to find unless you go into WSL. And even there, they only go back so far. I think the cutoff date is in the early 2000s. And Dill, who is our stat guy, would be able to tell me exactly that. And by the way, always a shout out to surfmetrics.app, surfmetrics.app, where I do a lot of the stats for my shows. And he's got that going back to the beginning of where the WSL starts and I think the ASP ends or something like that. Anyway, what else we got here? I do remember Jason Buttonshaw. All right, what else you guys want to talk about? I have a couple minutes, so I'm going to jump off and get ready to watch this, dude. I'm super psyching on this. So if we were to take those out to semifinals, let's do that. Let's talk about our winners. I want to hear who your winners are, who your finalists are. In the men's, I'm going to go ahead and take, my men's is going to be Idolo and Griffin. And I think Idolo's going to win a second one. And I think that in the women's, God, this is so lame. I'm going to say this. Rematch. Katie, Molly. Katie takes it this time. What do you guys think? I want to hear. Those are my whack takes. Somebody give me something. Somebody give me a Ramsey. Somebody give me a Ramsey Seth in the finals. Just make some shit up. Somebody give me Nadia Yolanda in the finals. That would be sick. And by the way, I do want to mention on the women's side, you have three rookies in the finals at Tiopo. In the finals. On finals day in Tiopo. That's impressive. And I don't think you've ever seen that, especially three rookies who haven't surfed here a lot, who just showed up. Nat Lelior, by the way, Nadia Aristabe, and Yolanda Hopkins. And there is a potential race there. There's a current race between Nat Lelior and Nadia Aristabe, who've been in a couple of quarters so far, and Yolanda, who has not. It's her first quarters. And I could see Yolanda, though, we're coming into the back end of the season. I think this is where she'll have the potential for some results, especially in Fiji, if it gets big. But then it goes back to Trestles, which I think favors the other two. But who would be your rookies of the year, by the way? And who do you think is going to win in the finals? Let's read what you have to say in the chat. Katie, the California Kid. Nice call later, Holmes. I'm going with Katie as well, and I have powered Katie on my team. Hold on, should we pull up my fantasy team? Dude, that's not the right slide. So I have in my fantasy team, Katie and Molly left. I lost Tyler and Betty Lou. By the way, Tier B sucked. There were more good surfers for Tiopo in Tier C, because Aaron was in there. Who else was in there? Yolanda was in there, who I picked. Vahine was in there. But anyway, I picked Yolanda and Vahine, so I still have Yolanda, and I knew that they would eventually meet up in the quarters. And then on the men's side, on my fantasy team, I had Miguel and Idolo, Jack and Cowley. Fucking hell. Maybe I should be cheering for Jack. Damn it. And then I've got Ramsey and Seth. So I think I'm going to have some decent results here, depending on what happens. Let's see what we got here. Love to see AI versus Jack, or AI. What the fuck, dude? I would love to see Andy Irons versus Jack in the final, but I would love to see Al versus Jack in the final. Me too. T-Bone, good call right there. You know, Al needs, of all the people who need a result, it's Al. Had some bad luck at the front end. He's way too talented, especially at a big wave venue like this. Al went to the US Open. He had decent results, but he's going to probably need to do some CS events to keep his dream alive, unless he does really well. And he's got two events coming. I'm thinking in my head. He's got Pipe coming at the end of the season, but he doesn't want to rely on that. And he also has, he's a guy I could see doing really well in Fiji. And he does surf a place like Trestles. So what do we got left? Let's talk about that. We have Trestles. As you guys make comments and give me your picks, I'll let that fill in. We have left Fiji, Trestles, Portugal, Philippines, potentially the wave pool. I used to be 60-40, 60% on it, definitely not happening. I maybe have gone back to 50-50, but you know, if you saw my video that I did on this, you see the map where Abu Dhabi is. I mean, Iran is right across the other side of the Strait of Hormuz. So it's sketchy at best. So those are the events left, and consider, you know, Al's got those events. I don't think the wave pool is his thing, but I do think that Portugal, Pipe, and definitely Fiji would be good for him. All right, what else we got? Dang, you forgot you had Jack in your team. Dude, I know, man. My team's that good. And you want to make my picks? Not a chance. Jeremiah comes in with definitely not a genius. I'm not sure who he's talking about. Hang on, let's go back up. Female rookie to win. Ramsey and Elo in the final. That's nice. I like it. Erin Brooks takes it home. Dude, she very well could. If Erin can get by Molly, I think she has a good chance there, man. And depending on what the waves do, Erin has the tube on lock just like Molly does. I can't wait to see that heat, actually. Ramsey, take the win for the sake of my fantasy. I agree. I'm backing you, Dave. HH bonus. That prediction was nice. Thank you. Yeah, Jack is on my team. Heart says Al versus Jack in the final. Head says Elo versus Griff. Yeah, I'm going with my head just so this video doesn't look bad. If it was my heart, I would want Al and maybe Ramsey in the final, just because I like them. I mean, not that I don't like Jack, love Jack. All Aussie, Jack versus Ethan. Greg, come on, man. That's some Aussie bias, dude. I love it, though. Man, can you imagine Ethan? I barely mentioned Ethan in terms of the finals. And it could happen. I mean, anything could happen here. I don't think it will, but hey, that would be something to talk about and a big surprise for me. It will be Elo versus Robin in the final. Robin will win. The Brazos will then cry profusely. You know what is funny? I talked about this with T-Bone, is that Australians and Aussies are exactly the same. They're both hugely loyal to their teams. They both wear green and yellow, and they both cry when their teams don't win. No, that's not true. Is it? I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments. Is that a whack take? Jack wins. He gets into the top 5. Ah, T-Bone. Little West Oz bias coming in hot from over in West Oz. Dude, I wish you were here on the show with me, but you're working. I get it. I had to work this week, and I barely got to see some of the event. I'm on a stage with my phone, like trying to not let people know that I'm watching this. Whoa, look at those pics. Yeah, thanks, man. What is up? KDX with a 10 bomb. Thank you, brother. Thanks for supporting the channel. KDX, love having you in, man. KDX needs Ethan. Well, guess what? I am going to cheer for Ethan as long as he's not against one of my guys. Hey, really appreciate that, man. Thanks for the super thanks. Appreciate you so much. And Trevor, Griffin Aaron will win. Love that. HH bonus with the 10 bomb. Thank you, HH. Dude, appreciate that. And by the way, don't feel the need to donate, but it's always appreciated. I just love having you guys in the stream. I love talking surf, and I am going to shut this show down pretty soon because I don't want to overlap the WSL. I'm sure they got a lot of things to reset for you all, and mostly I want to see what the call is going to be. I mean, yellow alert should be like a red alert. We're definitely going based on that forecast. We looked at that forecast. Let's quick, not there. Let's go to that forecast. Where did that forecast go? I just had it. I think it's in here. And it looks something like this. Here we go. Here, yeah. So the forecast, you can see the 18th. Damn, dude. Yeah, I'm still getting this stuff wired. The 18th is here. And they are definitely going to run. Let's see what we got. Yeah, let's just draw an arrow. 18th is right there, ladies and gentlemen. So you can see it gets smaller from here on out. This is the biggest, best day, and it even has the dark green color. Dark green color indicates hot and spicy dish. Let's do this, man. I think it's on today, definitely. They're not going to muck around. I think they're going to go. I can't believe they're on right now, in fact. Let's look and see if we can Are you still watching? Surfline, you know I'm watching. Whoa, why wasn't I doing this? Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at this. Looks pretty crowded out there, but there's a bowl. And, you know, from here on this shitty faraway cam, which is, by the way, thank you, Surfline, not meaning to throw you under the bus, but it's way better than the one from before. This is what it used to look like. It used to be, God damn it, I'm trying to grab the bar here. It used to be this one on the straight on view and the boats would go by, the one on the right, but now it's this one. And I got to be honest, there's the jet ski going by. This view from across the channel is way better. And it looks, on the cam, it looks pretty small, but I know, let me see if I go bigger, what happens. Yeah, that's much better. Let's look at this for a minute. I'm also going to pull the chat in. Let's have a look at the chat. Hey, thanks again, everybody, for the donos, man. Appreciate that so much. Let's see. No mediocrity there. Brooks, and let's see what else we got. When Hawaiians lose, they never cry. They just get too pissed to speak. Dude, there's probably a punching bag in the garage that you guys go out and just lay into. Let's see. Brooks and Simmers should win every contest. Their mediocrity is a mystery. Dude, I heard a stat yesterday on the event, and that stat was that this is Erin's first quarterfinals, which is crazy. I thought she'd had another one, but she hasn't. And Erin, I mean, Erin has so much talent. Yeah, I can't believe she hasn't been in sooner. Somebody just got a sick barrel. Did you all see that on the cam there, right below me? Look at this one. Damn, they're sets. That one's shut down a little bit. How great is it to watch some of these foam ball wizards, man? I've seen a couple really nice foam ball rides, and Griffin's right in that conversation. And Katie, yeah, I feel like Katie should probably be maybe a little higher in the rankings, but anyway, no mediocrity there. Give Sunny Garcia update. Dude, I don't know what's going on with Sunny, and maybe somebody else with more experience or connection to Sunny could talk about that. It's tragic. I hate to see that what's happened to that guy. It's on, guys. I have the info. Can they finish today with 40-minute heats? Great question. Motion, what is up, dude? Good to see you in, as always. Yeah, I think that they could. I'm curious to see how they run it. My suggestion earlier was 35-minute heats in the quarters and then go up a heat, you know, and semis go 40 and then 45 in the finals. But I think that will be too much. But if it's going to be inconsistent, I think they should definitely do that. But look at these sets. As we've been talking, it's been nonstop. Now, I think some of these are insiders, but look at that. That was a closeout. You don't want that. Or that's just the way, as you all know, that's the way it breaks. So like Chopu comes in off the reef, and then there's another one that comes in. They're always kicking out, especially on a west. It ends up closing out every time. So it's not like a perfect clean channel where all those boats and skis are. It's never really a channel. Katie is not at all mediocre. Yeah, I don't remember saying that. Maybe somebody else said that. Yeah, Katie is not mediocre. Is she having a mediocre season, I think was how that was framed by somebody. I don't know if it's been mediocre, but it's probably been below what she usually does. I've had a hard time watching Simmer's interviews, kind of cringe. She needs to work on her social skills. You know, it's funny, Lizard Man. I want to talk about that for 1 second. I feel like every time I interview her, it's super interesting. And I don't know, maybe it's the way the WSL or the questions they're asking her. She kind of shuts down unless you ask her the right questions, dude. And I don't know, she has a lot to say, but she won't necessarily reveal it. I'll say it like that. So Katie should go the way of JJF and just go have surf adventures and make rad films. And HH, I think that that's a possibility, but she's got more competitive drive than I'd say Dane Reynolds, but she's very similar to like JJF has that competitive drive. And if Katie decided one day, I'm over it, man, she could easily have a career and Red Bull backing and go make, her films. And I thought her films were, okay, good for what she's doing. I think with some production value behind her, it could be even better. And maybe some people don't want production value out of her. They want her art and creativity on the frame, but I think it could be better. And there's the polished version, which is nowadays, which if you haven't seen that, it's pretty freaking cool. So I think you want to lean more that way with Katie if she went out on her own. But John just got a thing going, on a sailboat, doing what he's doing with his family. I never want to see that guy come back. It's just too much fun. I would like to see him, though, get wild cards like Kelly. She basically told Cote to fuck off yesterday in her interview. Yeah, it was, yeah. You have to admit the surf this year has been horrible for the most part, so it's off-the-wall upsets. I think agree and disagree at the same time. We did have good waves. It's funny. Actually, let's talk about that. We did have good waves at Snapper, and there wasn't as many upsets. So you have a point. I think there's been a lot of early round upsets. New Zealand, for example, you had some early round upsets, but then in the end, Carissa and Elo won. So that's not super crazy. But yeah, I think I've seen worse seasons as far as waves, but they still tend to fall into they have the best surf just before and just after the event window. And it's just been unlucky. And that's happened to them quite a bit. It used to happen a lot more in the Elo days. But yeah, anyway, let's see. Not knocking her, love the way she surfs for sure. And I think you're talking about Katie. Let's see. No, they asked the wrong questions exactly. And I'm not, what you expect out of the WSL, and I really laid into them on this at Rio. What's your favorite color? It was almost what they were asking on the glass. They weren't even asking about the heat. And the WSL's responsibility is to ask I'm going to say, athlete, competition, sports-related questions. I don't mind the WSL approaching it like that. They have to. It's part of what they do. You had 5 minutes left. How did you find that wave? Or what were you feeling when you flipped the heat? And what was your strategy when you went into that heat? And where did you find the best part of the wave to get that score? Like those questions are the ones that they sort of have to ask, and for the most part, the WSL does a pretty good job of those, and they're stock standard things that are expected from an audience that's watching professional surfing. But I think there's an opportunity there to mix in some others. And what's funny is like Chris did ask one really good question. Oh, fuck, it caught me. I can't remember what it was, but it was really good. And it was like out of the box. I think he asked Kelly something that was like, ooh, that was a good one. And there's a lot of pressure to have, there's a lot of pressure to be interviewing Kelly. Dude, the first time I interviewed Steph Gilmore, I looked into her deep blue eyes, the 8-time world champion, and I went completely blank, man. Because here before me is this legend, and I love her surfing, probably more intimidated than a lot of others. And she's the coolest of most of people, and she's got that much experience. All right. Oh, it's on. I got to shut up. Because finish these last few. The Simmers film with Sully Bailey at the Secret Spot is incredible. Yes. And that was produced by Surfline, and that was Maps to Nowhere. I liked your idea of linger waiting periods. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Like giving them more free range in the waiting periods. Flicka must go. Dude, there's a lot of people that aren't down with Flick. Yo, Motion, feel like you need to be doing something like that. Mesmerized by greatness. All right, so it's time, guys. I'm going to jump off, guys and ladies. Thank you all for joining me. Really appreciate it. And that is going to get smoked. Joe Walker with the last take. Boy, that could happen. That's going to be a great heat. Can't wait to watch all the heats. Let's see how we did at the end of it. Don't forget to watch my Before the Hooter for Fiji. The next event is Fiji. It's coming up very soon in like a week and a half. I will have a preview for that. And I'm also making some more documentary type videos. Check them out on my channel. Subscribe to the channel and you'll be in the loop. All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate ya. We'll talk to you later. You.